All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian with you guys. Country's going to hell in a handbasket, but I'm in a great mood. So don't sweat it. Everything's going to be all right. We just got 26 days left. Man, when the moment that Trump, in some way, shape, or form, concedes defeat, there's going to be 200 million people who at the same time go, right. So, or maybe several billion people across the planet, but he's in full rampaging madman mood and form. We're going to tell you all about that in just a couple of minutes. A couple of quick programming notes. Also today, BMU, Between Me and Uygur. Ben Dixon's on this time. You want to know Ben Dixon's backstory? Where did he grow up? How did he become progressive, etc.? Check it out tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern on twitch.tv/TYT. Okay, so check that out tonight. And next Tuesday, you're gonna love our Tarantino special. That's named after Tarantino because of his movies where there's an alternate ending to history. We're gonna talk about what the alternate ending could have been to our lives if we had just made one different decision. So it's all the old school books.
Yes. I'm really excited about this special. Can we put that graphic back up? I love everything about that graphic, including my cheekbones. They look pretty bomb. But also, Cenk, nice current picture of yourself in this graphic, looking great.
Okay, so first of all, everybody knows I'm sexy. That's not a thing I have to clarify. As Trump said today, I'm a perfect physical specimen. And it's not because I look younger and better in that picture, which is definitely true. It's because that's when we all took the pictures when we were going to Current TV for our Reservoir Dogs style ad that we did back then. So not only will you see me, Anna, John, JR, but you'll also see old school folks like Dave Kohler, Jesus Godoy, who's our director, and of course Ben Mankiewicz as well. All right, so that's tomorrow. I mean next Tuesday at 7:30. Don't miss that. You guys make all this possible. Hit the join button below if you're watching on YouTube. Like and share. That's even easier. And it makes a giant difference. And last thing is, guys, we got to check it on the thermometer because we didn't make it last month. We're behind this month already. And this is really, really important. This is how you make a difference and how you help us get the progressive message out and then get change in this country. We're going to get change together. TYT.com/go. It's 27,571 right now. I'm going to say something crazy. Is 30,000 by the end of the show possible today? Well, let's see. But let's get there because we're really falling behind, at least on that metric for now. All right. So Anna, let's get going.
All right. Not too long ago, Donald Trump encouraged his supporters to liberate Michigan. Well, today we're learning of an FBI investigation and the fact that they foiled a right-wing terrorist plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan in order to essentially go against her lockdown measures during the pandemic. Now, there have been more than a dozen people who have been arrested. Some are only facing state charges. However, 6 of the individuals are facing state and federal charges. And in the next video, you'll get more detail into how this FBI investigation was conducted and what these individuals are accused of. Take a look.
Last night, the FBI and Michigan State Police arrested 6 individuals charged in a federal complaint with conspiring to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. According to the complaint, unsealed this morning, Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta conspired to kidnap the governor from her vacation home in the Western District of Michigan before the November election. Under federal law, each of these individuals faces a term of any number of years up to life in prison if convicted. Fox, Garbin, Franks, Harris, and Caserta are residents of Michigan. Croft is a resident of Delaware. All of us standing here today want the public to know that federal and state law enforcement are committed to working together to make sure violent extremists never succeed with their plans.
And to be clear, the FBI has warned in numerous reports that the real threat here to domestic security is right-wing terrorism. And that right-wing terrorism is oftentimes plotted and unfortunately, once in a while actually carried out by right-wing gang members in this country. So the federal government has filed an affidavit. The FBI has filed an affidavit against the 6 individuals who were mentioned in that press conference. Several members talked about murdering tyrants or taking a sitting governor. The group decided they needed to increase their numbers and encouraged each other to talk to their neighbors and spread their message. And I want to be clear that they had very specific plans in place to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. The conspirators conducted surveillance on Whitmer's vacation home during the day on August 29th and at night over the weekend of September 12th through the 13th. During the surveillance operation, the right-wing extremists, Adam Fox in particular, said the following: "We ain't going to let them burn our effing state down. I don't give an F. If there's only 20 or 30 of us, dude, we'll go out there and use deadly force." Also in an encrypted group chat, Garbin later suggested that demolishing a nearby bridge would hamper a response by police to the governor's home. The September surveillance followed a field exercise at Garbin's property in Luther, Michigan, where the conspirators allegedly detonated an improvised explosive device made from a commercial firework wrapped in shrapnel to test its anti-personnel effectiveness. So they actually took some measures and were certainly planning in a very detailed way to carry out these acts of terror.
Okay, let me translate anti-personnel measures when you're testing a bomb. That means how well does it kill people? So it doesn't get any more extreme than this. Kidnap, murder, bombings, arson. They were planning all of it. It's very clear in the messages that they were sharing. There was an FBI informant that got it on tape, that got all their plans, and that's how they got arrested. First of all, now I don't know how many times in a row, I want to give credit to the FBI. They have foiled so many of these plots. And by the way, they are very clear. They explain, look, we are looking at every single possibility from all ends of the political spectrum, and the overwhelming threat is the right-wing militias. There's almost no Antifa plots that they mention in any of their documentation. They're looking, and there is no such thing. So, there is this overwhelming drive, not just by Republicans, but by the media oftentimes, although less so today, to call everything even, not even. This is an insane right-wing militia. You know, a Republican member of the Michigan legislature today had to come out and clarify, look, this is not really what patriots do. Could you imagine if there was going to be a group of Muslims that were going to kidnap and murder a governor of one of the US states, and Democrats bothered to clarify this is not what patriots do? Yeah, of course it's not what patriots do. But in the right wing, they think maybe that's what patriots do. Maybe they go around killing governors. And remember, Trump, in the midst of all the madness against Whitmer in Michigan, wrote a tweet saying, "Liberate Michigan." And of course, during the debate, he said, stand back and stand by when asked about white supremacist militia groups. This is what stand by looks like. And Donald Trump has brought us to the brink of absolute anarchy in this country. And it's absolutely grotesque what's happened. And I'll give one more piece of credit, and it's to the media. When we were discussing this in our production meeting this morning, I thought it would have the same reaction that things like this always do. If Antifa or Muslims or black people were gonna do it, oh my God, oh no, look, and they were gonna murder the governor of Florida, Rick DeSantis, poor Republican. All that would be all that anybody talked about. I said, but whenever there's a right-wing militia who's going to murder people, it's barely any news. So this time around, though, it was big news, and everybody did cover it. And I was a little surprised, like, but I guess kidnapping and murdering a governor does rise to the level of national news, even if the right wing does it.
Right. I mean, this is, well, I think you just highlighted the difference between this case and what we've seen in so many other cases. If we're talking about Black Lives Matter demonstrators getting gunned down in cold blood, yeah, it'll get a little bit of attention in the media. But if you're talking about gang members of any ideology, including right-wing gang members in this country, threatening someone in a position of power, yeah, that's going to grab a lot more attention. And I'm glad it is, because again, I mean, we've repeated ourselves so many times. The biggest terror threat in this country comes from radical right-wing extremists. I don't know why the president doesn't say them by their name or call them by their name. That's what we have in this country. We have radical right-wing extremists, and they're carrying out acts of violence. Sometimes, unfortunately, they're able to do what they want to do without the FBI foiling their plots. But you're right, Cenk. There have been so many of these serious, threats, and luckily the FBI caught these individuals in time before they can carry out any more acts of violence. But I do want to go to Donald Trump's campaign aide, Jason Miller, because you mentioned the weak response from Republicans. Well, what can you expect from the Trump administration or the Trump campaign? You're going to get people who try to justify this type of behavior. Watch.
These are some pretty shameful comments here from Governor Whitmer. I mean, how we could because how you can go from a moment of unity to attacking President Trump, I thought was just completely ridiculous. I mean, if we want to talk about hatred, then Governor Whitmer, go look in the mirror. I mean, the fact that she wakes up every day with such hatred in her heart towards President Trump. I mean, President Trump is the one out there condemning these radical groups, whether they be on the right or they be on the left. We saw it 2 weeks ago when he was in Atlanta introducing his Platinum Plan, his contract with Black America, where he labeled the KKK and Antifa both terrorist groups. We saw him do.
That's a senior advisor to the Trump campaign. After the FBI says we just foiled a terrorist plot to murder the governor of Michigan, he turns around and blames her. He says she has hatred in her heart. And he says, oh, this is a moment of unity. Wait, how is it a moment of unity? Donald Trump told the militia to go liberate Michigan. Then he told them to stand by in a debate. He encouraged people to take violent, extreme actions. He said, if you take violent action against protesters at my rallies, I'll pay for the lawsuits. And I would go through dozens of examples where he asked for violence. He once said during the 2016 campaign about how there's political things we could do against Hillary Clinton, but there's also Second Amendment things we could do against Hillary Clinton. So this guy who was called for violent action against his opponents, now we're supposed to have unity with Donald Trump after the people listened to him and almost killed the governor? No, that's not a moment of unity. That's a moment of you guys are horrible, horrible human beings. And after she barely escapes getting kidnapped by this insane plot, thanks to the good work of the FBI, Trump sends out his henchman, his goon, Jason Miller, to come out and say, I blame her, hatred in her heart. By the way, it could also be interpreted as, hey guys, nice try this time. Somebody else, you guys want to step in? Because Trump still thinks she's the bad guy. I can't believe they're doing that on TV, but they are. And if you don't think they're monsters, you're not getting it. They are. That's exactly how brown shirts seize power. And if Trump was this election, it's good night, Irene. They're going to run rampant, and the vigilante violence is going to be absolutely through the roof.
Yeah, one of them, Caleb Franks, was quoted as saying, kidnapping, arson, death, I don't care, when talking about Governor Gretchen Whitmer. These people are a huge threat to our national security. They're a huge threat to protesters. They're a huge threat to our democracy. And anyone who minimized the impact of a Donald Trump presidency and continues to do so really needs to wake up. And I'm being very tame in sharing this message because I would use other words to basically communicate this. We're in a lot of trouble, and I'm really concerned about what's going to happen both during the election and after the election. But anyway,
I'll tell you, Anna. Look, if they had just uncovered a plot by Antifa or Black Lives Matter to kidnap and murder Governor Abbott of Texas, and blow up bridges and kill other people and use bombs and burn down buildings. And the Biden team sent out someone to say Governor Abbott has hatred in his heart. What do you think would have happened? The world would have stopped. And oh my God, Biden's America. Can you believe it? It said no. But Trump, we're all used to it. Trump said earlier today, we're not even covering it on the show. He did a live video about it, that we should arrest Biden a month before the election. We should arrest Obama. We should arrest Hillary Clinton. He just said it today. And everybody's like, oh yeah, of course, the president's a would-be dictator. And if he wins this election, obviously we've lost democracy. Mike Lee said, we'll talk about it later in the show. Senator from Utah, Republican senator, saying this is not a democracy. They just don't believe in democracy. And if we don't win this time around, it's over. And that's just the reality. And by the way, we are going to win, as I explained earlier, a couple of days ago. But after we do, people will forget. They'll think like, oh, it was hyperbole, that democracy wasn't really on the line. No. It is, and they'll forget the lessons, because these guys were so close to ending our democracy. If Trump only loses by 3 points, they'll definitely cheat and end it anyway. But my guess is he's gonna lose by a lot more than that. I can't believe America is this close to having the fascists win after all these years.
When we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit about Donald Trump wussing out of his next debate with Joe Biden.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. First, I want to thank our sponsor, aspiration.com/TYT. First of all, they stuck with us through thick and thin, through coronavirus and all of that. Second of all, they're awesome because they're progressive and they look. You advertise on the Young Turks, and that takes courage. I don't know if you guys know the advertising world, but a lot of folks think, oh no, you guys are actually trying to change things for the better. We're not interested. That seems partisan. But that's why both twostrongcoffee.com/TYT and aspiration.com/TYT make a huge difference for us, for you guys, for the country. And Aspiration also plants 10 trees every time. When you sign up, they plant trees every time you round up. They're great in being fossil fuel free in terms of where you put your money, much better than any of those dirty banks. So check that out, please. So now I want to go to some of you guys in the member section. Trigger Incarnate said, it was hilarious listening to Rick Wilson pretty much confirm everything about Washington that Cenk has been yelling about for 2 decades. Yeah, so that's the founder of the Lincoln Project. The interview was right before the show. Their interviews are always right before the show at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a really great one. If you missed it, make sure you check it out. One way to do that, obviously, is membership, tyt.com/join, and you get all of our videos, or hit the join button below the video if you're watching on YouTube. Last one from the member section is, James says, bought 5 new t-shirts from Shop TYT last night. Show me some love. James, some love. ShopTYT.com damage report shirts are selling out, so get them while you can. No more trigonometry reminded me of the exact quote from Donald Trump about Hillary Clinton in 2016. He said, if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. He's a total monster. And as No More Trigonometry says, he's been inciting his base for years and it'll only get worse. Unfortunately, that's exactly where we are. That's right. And real quick, here's new members on YouTube: Dorothy Hawkins, GK Alfie, Reggie E. Jr., Daryl Mandiola, Tweety 9250, Alexander Cuellar, Elaine Burnett, Alan Pomeroy, Matty G, Donald White, Jeff Miner, and I'll read more later. Anna.
All right. Well, during an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business, Donald Trump decided that he's not interested in debating Joe Biden in the next debate because if he can't spread the coronavirus, what's the point? Let's watch.
I heard that the commission a little while ago changed the debate style, and that's not acceptable to us. I beat him easily in the first debate, according to the polls that I've seen, but I beat him easily. I felt I beat him easily. I think he felt it too. He wouldn't answer any questions, and he had the protection of Chris Wallace all night long. It was just, I thought Chris Wallace was a disaster. But I beat him in the first debate. At the second debate, we have a Never Trumper as a host, but that's okay because I beat him in the second debate also. And but I'm not going to do a virtual debate.
So Mr. President, you're not going to do it because the CPD, the Commission on Presidential Debates, announcing this morning that the second presidential debate will be virtual. Are you saying you're not going to participate?
No, I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating's all about. You sit behind a computer and do a debate. It's ridiculous. And then they cut you off whenever they want.
I mean, look, if I performed as poorly as Donald Trump did in the first debate, I certainly wouldn't want to do another debate. Secondly, the American people really don't need to see another debate between these two, to be quite honest with you. That's where I stand on this issue. And finally, don't think that I miss the fact that a second debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden hasn't happened yet, and Trump has already declared that he's won the second debate. He's delusional, he is erratic, he is incompetent, and he shouldn't be in office. He is a danger to this country and to pretty much every other country around the world.
That's the same interview that he said Kamala Harris is a communist and a monster, and that Obama, Biden, and Hillary Clinton should all be arrested, and that you might not need drugs for coronavirus. He is completely and utterly unhinged. And every time I see stuff like that, I think over 30% of this country looks at that and goes, my dear leader, he's so—
I'll die for him. I'll die for him. Do you remember that? There was video of Trump supporters outside of Walter Reed Medical Center, and one of the guys there was just like shouting as loudly as he could about how he would die for Donald Trump. No, like I used to cringe when people would refer to his supporters as a cult. I felt like it went, for some reason, a bridge too far. No, I now 100% co-sign on that specific word being used to describe them. I wouldn't die for anyone. You shouldn't die for the president. Like, that's ridiculous and that's crazy. Saying things like that is crazy. And by the way, especially this president who has probably implemented all sorts of policies that have directly negatively impacted that person's life. But who cares? I would die for the president. Great.
Yeah, but you might yet still, so hang in there, because he keeps telling you coronavirus isn't a problem. So if you go out there and smear it all over yourself, you might find out it is a problem. So I hope he does not get his wish. But that's the kind of cult there is. If Trump told people that Kool-Aid tastes great, and all the world's doctors and scientists told him it's poison, I think a giant percentage of his base would drink the Kool-Aid. It's definitely a cult. They would kill themselves without question. They literally believe that Donald Trump knows better than all of the world's doctors and all the world's scientists. If that's not the definition of stupid, I don't know what is. So, but look, In this case,
all I'll say about that, Cenk, all I'll say in response to that is, even in what's considered a highly civilized society, I just think natural selection continues. It's a thing. So again, when this pandemic started, I would be enraged every time Trump would intentionally spread disinformation about this virus because it harms everyone, including his supporters who, I might disagree with politically, but I see them as humans. You want people to survive, you want them to be healthy, you want them to live good lives. But at this point, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna act as their mother? Do what you want to do. I'm done with it. What's frustrating though is that their actions continue to spread this virus, and that affects everyone's life, everyone that lives in this country. It negatively impacts businesses that have to shut down again and again because of the rising rates of coronavirus. It's beyond frustrating because if they lived in this vacuum or in this isolated situation and they wanted to risk their lives and die off from a virus that they could easily prevent the spread of, again, do you? You believe in liberty? I believe in liberty, do you? But it sucks that we don't have the liberty to live our lives healthy and happy because we're stuck in this country with these incompetent morons who can't ever think for themselves and easily get manipulated by literally the dumbest president this country has ever seen. That's the frustrating part. You want to live your life a certain way, do you? But it sucks that it negatively impacts all of us.
Now back to this particular comment within this madness of an interview that he did with Bartiromo. He's saying, I won the debate. Everybody knows the polling that I've been looking at. Why does he say the polling that I've been looking at? Because he knows every poll had him getting clowned, humiliated. One poll had the debate 62 to 28 for Biden, doubling him. Others also had gigantic leads. All said that Biden, every poll of real Americans said that, or any Americans said that Joe Biden won. And he knows that, and he's embarrassed by that. That's why the coward doesn't want to show up. But I have a suggestion for Donald Trump. It's a oldie but goodie. Just claim you got bone spurs, and then that way you don't have to attend the debate.
Yeah, I mean,
through and through.
Exactly, and by the way, it is pretty ironic that his campaign just released an ad attacking cancel culture when Donald Trump, of course, is the one who just tried to cancel this upcoming debate. Here's the new ad, and it's laughable. Didn't Donald Trump want to cancel certain types of curriculum that has anything negative about this country's history? That's canceling. So if he wants to talk about canceling books and culture and this and that, I mean, it's just amazing. He just pulled out of the next debate. He canceled his appearance for the next debate, which means that the debate, if he doesn't show up, is done, it's canceled. He is the king of cancel culture. He's the king of everything that he projects onto others. It's because he's like taking a mirror to himself and he's like, oh, this is what I see about myself. I'm gonna go ahead and accuse everyone else of what I see in myself. He's the worst.
And like I said, in the other part of the interview, he said, I want my political opponent arrested a month before the election. I want Biden canceled. He basically would cancel the election. Okay, I want the former president canceled. I want the former Secretary of State, my former opponent canceled. He's king cancel. And still, he puts out an ad saying, can you believe they're against cancel? That look at the cancel culture that the left wing is doing. They're pathetic.
Well, Donald Trump may have tested positive for COVID, but he's positive for something else. So let's talk about it. Donald Trump has tested positive for COVID. We still haven't seen a negative test, even though he claims that he's no longer contagious. But he has tested positive for one other thing, and that's stupidity. You're about to experience some of that in this next clip.
You've got 30 plus people with coronavirus in and around the White House. Address that concern for us, Mr. President. As you tell the Commission on Debates, you're not going to do this virtually.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I'm better when to a point where I'd love to do a rally tonight. I wanted to do one last night, but I think I'm better to a point that I feel better than I did. I jokingly said 20 years ago. I feel perfect. There's nothing wrong. I had a case. I got it knocked out. I think it was Regeneron that was responsible for it. Because of that, it was sort of like almost a gift from heaven.
So, again, let me note that it is not impossible, considering all of the experimental drugs they pumped into his body. It is not impossible that he could be at a phase where he's no longer contagious, okay? So I just want to put that out there. However, we have not seen any evidence yet indicating that he's no longer contagious, and there are tests to see if someone is contagious at this point. So let's see that test, and if that's true, you want to go do rallies, do rallies. But even if he's not contagious, keep in mind that he has surrounded himself with people who were yelled at if they ever tried to wear a mask. They also got the virus. And so there are a bunch of sick people surrounding Donald Trump. And if you take all those people to wherever he's planning on doing a rally, you are risking the lives of people in that area, the workers who have to work to put that rally together. It's not just about him. It's not just about Donald Trump, but it doesn't matter. I mean, he doesn't ever see past himself and what he wants anyway.
So look, guys, after you have coronavirus and you're completely past it, are you less likely to get coronavirus going forward? Absolutely, you are. It doesn't mean you're absolutely immune because people have gotten it a second time already, but you're close to immune. It's very unlikely. Is Donald Trump past it? Not by any definition of any doctor on the planet. According to Donald Trump, it's not my words, it's his. They say that he tested positive Thursday night. Now, some are speculating that he might have tested positive earlier and that he wasn't telling folks. But they say, Trump says, I tested positive Thursday. Today is Thursday. There is not a single doctor on the planet that thinks that someone who tested positive a week ago is not contagious a week later. I've never heard that, never read that. It's not a thing. Maybe by some miracle, someone might already be past it within a week, but there's been no documented cases of anyone not being contagious a week after they test positive. So no, he doesn't know anything. He's actively putting out misinformation to the whole country, telling them, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Oh, you have coronavirus? Don't worry about it. A week later, a couple of days later, go out, take your mask off, go around, etc. We're gonna get people killed. That's why they take this information off of social media now, because of how potentially dangerous it is. So I tweeted about this earlier today. The reason I'm telling you that is because every right winger in the comment section was like, oh, no way, man. Trump knows way better than doctors. He's definitely immune. I don't care what every doctor says. He's definitely immune. No, these morons, they really believe Trump over every doctor on the planet. So yeah, look, Anna, I'm with you. I'm done trying to save their lives. So you guys all want to go to the Superdome and pack it in, 100,000, 200,000 people, standing room only, all hug it out together with Donald Trump right now, an active coronavirus patient who is clearly, by any definable metric, very, 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 very likely, unless it's a miracle, to be contagious. Have at it. But it's the Secret Service, it's the vendors, it's all these other people that you put in grave danger as well. That's why we can't have it. And guys, the other problem is that the president is a moron. He keeps saying things that aren't remotely true. But forget doing his rallies with his dumbass death cult, who's happy to die for him. But he's telling the rest of the country, oh no, maybe I'm immune. He said right after he got out of the hospital, he did a video where he's saying, maybe I'm immune, I don't know. Then why did you open your big stupid orange mouth? Because when you say maybe I'm immune, I don't know, your followers interpret that as one day after coronavirus, once you get out of the hospital, you're immune. Yeah, that's it. Let's go hug everybody with coronavirus and spread it all around. Trump told us that we're immune. So he's a danger to himself and to everyone else around him.
He should send the White House doctors home. I'm sure they'd love to be with their family and their loved ones. I'm sure they'd love a little bit of time off. It would show just how tough Donald Trump really is. I mean, if he's completely cured, he doesn't need any help. During the interview, he claimed you don't even necessarily need drugs to conquer coronavirus. If that's all true, awesome. Then why do you need round-the-clock medical, assistance if you want to call on it, right? Let these poor people go home to their families and enjoy some time off. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He is intentionally making it out as if his personal experience with this virus, as someone in a position of power who has round-the-clock medical care, is the same scenario that any average American is gonna have. And we know that that's not the case. We know that there have been countless Americans who have already received unbelievably extremely expensive medical bills related to the COVID treatment that they received in the hospital. Other Americans died because they didn't even want to risk going to the hospital and accumulating these gigantic bills. He was pumped with all sorts of experimental drugs. I mean, it's so unbelievably irresponsible. And the thing that I worry about is there are reasonable Americans out there who are sick of lockdowns, who are tired of following the rules and wearing the masks, and it is a giant inconvenience. And I'm worried that with his nonchalant attitude, look at me, I'm an obese 70-something-year-old and I should be dead, but I'm not. After contracting this virus, I'm worried that others are gonna minimize the potential risk of contracting a virus like this. So we'll see how that plays out, but the numbers are going up. We've talked about that. In dozens of states, the COVID numbers are going up. And that is devastating when you consider that we're entering flu season and there are gonna be people who need to be hospitalized just from the common flu. That happens every year.
Yeah, so guys, that's why we're different than any other show. In another part of the interview, he talked about how he might not need any medicine at all because he's a perfect physical specimen. So, I mean, then your idiot followers are going to think that they don't need medicine when they get coronavirus. He's the most irresponsible man ever. But other shows say that. What they don't say is the next thing, and I'm going to tell you why it's important. You have to explain to people that the president is a total moron. If you don't explain that to people, they think it's 50-50. They think, well, that's the president of the United States. And they have debates. And Trump debates Biden. Biden could be right, Trump could be right. What should be the right amount of taxes? I don't know. Do we need medicine for coronavirus? Is it contagious? Once you're tested positive, should you be with family members or are you miraculously cured in 2 days? I don't know. It's a debate. It's not a debate. One side has all the doctors and scientists. The other side has a moron as its leader. I don't say that because of politics. I say that to try to help save your life. So no one in their right mind should ever listen to Donald Trump. And if you're MAGA and you want to smear coronavirus all over yourself because Trump told you to, have at it, Hoss. But if you're not MAGA, don't ever make the mistake of listening to a family member who's MAGA and is in a death cult. Coronavirus has killed over 210,000 Americans. I assure you they're actually dead and they died from this disease.
When we come back from the break, Donald Trump has turned coronavirus into his latest grift. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. TYT.com. So in fact, let me read Anna's Margarita Salt here from the member section. She said, "This is my first day on TYT Live since the passing of my guitar hero. I don't know what his politics were and I don't care. He was my hero from the age of 13. So after my 28,000 step walk hike, I donated $51.50 to TYT.com/go in honor of the late great legend Eddie Van Halen. He's one of the few musicians who truly evolved an instrument in the way that it was played and inspired all the generations of musicians." Our own Bart Kyle also wrote in. He's normally runs audio for us in the stage, and explained that when Eddie Van Halen came here from Holland, he actually spoke no English, and that the white kids picked on him, but the black kids had his back. And that's what helped inform who he was, which is a really cool story, actually. So a hat tip to Eddie Van Halen, who was of course a legend in music. And thank you, Anna's Margarita Salt. Okay, the Diabetic also in the member section says, "I have a hard time seeing how cancel culture is actually a thing and not just a terrifying idea when all the people who have been quote unquote canceled are still coming out and making millions." So that's an excellent point.
Yeah, can I just comment on that real quick? I think that it's, unfortunately, the people who speak out against it and pretend to be victimized by it the most, like the Barry Weisses of the world, they end up like minimizing the negative impact it has to like people we don't hear about who end up like literally having their lives ruined because they made a mistake on Twitter decades ago. Those are the people that I'm concerned about. You know, like I remember we did a story, Cenk, years ago that went back and talked to all the like private citizens who were basically fired from their jobs and all this stuff because they tweeted something that they thought would be a funny joke, and then it turned out that people didn't take it that way. And yeah, they still had difficulty finding jobs and things like that. So Ben Burgess does a lot of really great work and write-ups about these types of stories. You should follow his work, and he'll explain all of this a lot better than I'm doing right now in this limited time.
All right, let me read the names of some of the members who just signed up on YouTube by clicking the join button below the video. So it's Brianna Circus, Kurt Singer, Snowline West, Narayan IR, AA, Vaughn LaVoice, Vegas Reality, Mickey Wood, Franz Pierre, Chandra Smith, Rachel Mick, Soul Harvester Gaming, Rob Payton, 5 Arch Tech, Lee Bowbeer, Tony Guy Parker, Gil Rocky 1988. I'll read more names in the post game. You guys are members now anyway. You guys are awesome. And one last thing, Twitch. Our Twitch followers are amazing. We got a Jorge Aguiar, Whiny Mom, DGN193, who all just became members. But Min Vikings donated 10,000 bits. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And A. Trollopy donated 420 bits and said, "Anna is right as always." Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's go forward.
All right. One of the many experimental drugs that Donald Trump took following his positive coronavirus test is made by a biotech company known as Regeneron. Now, it's important to note that Trump is financially invested in this company, or at least was very recently. But nonetheless, he did talk about this particular drug during an interview, and immediately afterwards, stock prices went high. So let's watch.
I spent 4 days there, and I went in, I wasn't feeling so hot, and within a very short period of time, they gave me Regeneron. It's called Regeneron, and other things too, but I think this was the key. But they gave me Regeneron, and it was like unbelievable. I felt good immediately. I felt as good 3 days ago as I do now. So I just want to say, we have Regeneron, we have a very similar drug from Eli Lilly, and they're coming out, and we're trying to get them on an emergency basis. We've authorized it. I've authorized it. And if you're in the hospital and you're feeling really bad, I think we're going to work it so that you get them and you're going to get them free. And especially if you're a senior, we're going to get you in there quick. We have hundreds of thousands of doses that are just about ready. I have emergency use authorization all set, and we got to get it signed now. And you're going to get better. You're going to get better really fast. This is things that nobody even thought of a few months ago. Then in addition to that, you have various other drugs that help a lot. But these, I view these, I know they call them therapeutic, but to me, it wasn't therapeutic. It just made me better, okay? I call that a cure.
Man, that was a long video of him just saying the same thing over and over again. Like, what is up with dudes not being able to just say something once and move on? It's insane. That video was insane. But anyway, let's focus on the substance. Apparently, according to Anthony Fauci, this drug does look promising, so that is good news. But the bad news is Donald Trump's actions and the conflicts of interest related to his investments makes people distrustful. Like I don't trust anything Donald Trump says because everything he does is based on his own personal gain. And then you read stories about how, fairly recently he was invested in the biotech company that's making this drug, and he puts out this video. The price of this company's shares increase, of course, dramatically. And then it makes you wonder, well, is this just a grift or is this actually a promising drug? And quite honestly, up until the point Anthony Fauci addressed this, I didn't trust any of it at all. I do have some hope and faith in Fauci. So if he's saying it's promising, that's good news. But I do want to note, actually, Cenk, why don't you jump in and then I'll give you the details about Trump's investments.
Yeah, Fauci said that there's a quote reasonably good chance that it did make him much better. Now, Fauci is not attending to him as a physician, but has information about Regeneron. And I, even before Fauci said that, I had read several articles explaining it's very limited test. It's only 275 people that it was in clinical trials in, but the results were good, and there doesn't appear to be any or much downsides at all. So if it doesn't have much downsides, then there actually is relatively low risk. And so now you don't get to take that at this point. The president got a special exception to take that, even though it's still in clinical trials. And so they might open it up for more people soon. That's what they're promising. That's part of the reason why their stock price is going up. And I hope it's a great drug. And oftentimes the drug companies have a lot of issues, but they do sometimes create great drugs. So that's wonderful, and that's how it's supposed to work. But when Trump says something like, well, it's not therapeutic, I call it a cure. Wait, even they don't say it's a cure. Nobody says it's a cure. Regeneron doesn't say it's a cure. No doctor in the world says it's a cure. So why are you, as a president of the United States, actively putting out misinformation? And you don't need to. It looks like it's a good drug. Let's let the clinical trials go. And then if they get cleared and they're right about not much side effects and it helps, great, let's get it to everybody. But you don't have to weirdly say that it's a cure when it's not a cure, it's therapeutic. And he can't help himself. There's no off switch on dumb. And then finally, guys, look at what Anna said. We know for a fact that he was invested in this company and another company that makes a drug related to coronavirus. Definitely in 2017 filings that he put forward, and they don't appear in the 2020 filings. But so it's kind of up in the air. When did Donald Trump make money from these companies? But why are we letting the president invest in companies that he has incredible control over? If he said, let's say that he was shorting the stock instead of betting on it to go high, this drug could be great, and he could be like, it doesn't work. And then their stock price plummets. It's insane. It's an obvious conflict of interest, let alone the $400 million he owes to God knows who and which foreign governments he owes the money to. No other president does this. He's just wildly corrupt.
So let me just note that for Donald Trump to make any type of declarative statement about this drug based on his personal experience is ridiculous, because remember, he was given a number of different treatments after testing positive for coronavirus. While Trump has claimed the drug made him feel incredible, it's worth noting that it was likely the steroids. He was also given a series of other treatments, including remdesivir and dexamethasone, and that's the steroid that he was taking. And there's no evidence Regeneron's antibody cocktail is responsible for his recovery, for his specific recovery. Also, Jake, I want to note that the largest clinical trial that this biotech firm did was on, I believe, close to 300 people. It was around 270 something people. And they reported that the treatment seemed to look promising and that there were very few side effects. But I read about this morning. Maybe things have changed since. When I was reading about the reports on this drug this morning, the firm had not shared the details of that study with the public yet. So first of all, I think there's a problem with the messenger, because Donald Trump is such a liar that I think reasonable people would be skeptical of anything he says, especially when he has financial interests at play and conflicts of interest at play. But the other issue is, there's just this urge right now for any hope, like to latch onto any hope. I think we need to be careful and make sure that we have, actual evidence and clear clinical trials indicating that these treatments work and don't have serious side effects. But what the Trump administration is trying to do is like ram this through without the proper FDA approval.
Look, he keeps saying that I'm doing it for hope, but first of all, you can't just pick any random medicine like hydroxychloroquine and say, I don't know, I'm putting hope into that. Everybody go take it. Because people then die if they take the wrong medication in the wrong context. One of the things he gave hope to you guys over was injecting yourself with bleach. How'd that turn out? And so, I mean, why would anybody ever listen to the medical opinion of a guy who thought maybe you could cure coronavirus by injecting bleach into your lungs? So why are we still having a conversation about this guy in science? And so, and by the way, the drug that everybody says has cut down fatality rates of coronavirus most effectively is remdesivir. He mentioned it in passing, but seemed to play it down. To my knowledge, he never had any money invested in remdesivir. So if you want to give people hope, you would actually talk about that drug. Almost everybody says that's the one that's most effective. But the president doesn't have a financial stake in that drug. This is insane. Okay, yeah. All right, guys, we're out of time, but we got a post game coming up for you guys where we got another issue about Regeneron and the amazing hypocrisy of the right wing related to that. And then why is Donald Trump asking people to take doctors to sign NDAs? And was Mike Pence mansplaining? We're actually going to discuss and debate. Hit the join button below on YouTube, tyt.com/join anywhere else. We'll see you right now in the post game.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.